Hello and welcome back into this next match. I am your caster, Snipes, back again, and I'm actually joined with a new caster, Egdar. Welcome to the desk. How are you?
New is relative, but yes, of course, going to be joining in for this matchup, and it's a bit of a tough one, right? You know when like you get drafted onto the front lines, and then someone hands you the rifle for the first time, and it's like, oh wait, I actually got to do this. Welcome, Desperate, to all Hallows League. Here's your reigning and defending Season X champions in Team Elysium, with Xeno, who put in like arguably the best killer performance of all time across like all those matches in the finals. So you definitely have a lot of work to do. But right now, Xeno struggling to find anyone thus far. The Myers, another special Halloween set, and we saw yesterday that Myers is like really deadly on this map specifically. You're going to be utilizing the Unforeseen perk from the Unknown to help that undetectable a little bit more. And in the meantime, again, you're basically playing a jump scare killer, but you have the advantage of you're playing jump scare, but also you're kind of just really nuts in chase as well, right? You get that permanent buff in pursuer mode to every aspect of your chase. And now Looney is in a garbage spot right now, just because, like, yeah, like, you're dead here. You're stuck in the corner with a Myers that can fully stalk you. Fortunately, you do take the chase over on that top side of the map, like the third floor. So, like, the rest of the generators should be getting some decent progress, at the very least.
Yeah, and we do see one gen pop for that first chase. Not the worst if you are on for Team Desperate. And we actually see Looney get hooked in the basement, so definitely a deadly spot to be for the unhook. And still, I mean, using this Unforeseen can be quite interesting, especially when you switch into that pursuer mode. And we actually see the add-ons coming in, getting that aura reading on the survivors nearby.
Yep, that would be the Vanity Mirror. Of course, not going to have the effect that it once did, but still going to be pretty strong in its own right now. You felt here by the side, it's going to be Manta, who eats up an M1 with this comically white screwdriver, I must say. But regardless, Manta just takes the injury and runs away. I think Xeno's playing a bit more for area control right now. You have a hook in the basement by the looks of it. And you know that with the threat of your expose, which can come out, it's very easy to just expose people when they're right next to you, right? So that unhook is basically unworkable. Like, you're not going to get it. Xeno knows this, is going to let Luna go to second before applying a little bit more pressure to the other side of the map, and you've got to have eyes in the back of your head, Rainfall, because you've been spotted out here. You're about to get fully stalked, and luckily you're able to make it to the pallet in the time that Myers does a quick little weapon inspection. But the Slaughtering Strike, first charge is going to shred through the pallet. You have another one to work with. For Rainfall, it's kind of desperation mode right now. And maybe for Xeno too.
Going for a little bit of a cheeky Slaughtering Strike here, but Rainfall is just playing this beautifully and just greeting and actually wins the 50-50, so we'll be seeing another pallet get shredded here, and the unhook comes out in the basement for Mancer, and now Looney might be just getting tunneled out, and actually it looks like Mancer's going to be hiding in this locker trying to attempt.
Oh, the head on
comes out. No, just a few seconds away from that exposed being on. Mancer will be getting hooked right back into the basement. That is so brutal. I mean, Looney does get out of the basement. That tunnel out does get denied for the meantime, and now it looks like we are going to be going back to Rainfall, who is working this gen, but not too bad, but not the greatest spot if you're desperate.
Still want to give a lot of credit over to Rainfall for having that phenomenal first chase, and then even though Manta is on hook in the basement, it is a trade, and the point is, you can give stages and stages and stages until someone is dead, right? You know, Manta's 2 stages that they're going to get by virtue of being in basement, or maybe even 1 stage if Xeno doesn't stick around here, is worth infinitely less than what that final 1 stage onto Looney would have been, right? So really good play from the Desperate Survivors, teamwork, Rainfall 1 for taking that chase on so long, buying time for Manta to come in and buying time for Manta to come out as well. Now Xeno had some nice early control this game, but the survivors seem to be bringing it back. And now we have yet another chase with Rainfall, another Pursuer mode activated. Let's see if Xeno can get a little more out of this one.
We're taking it towards this tile that's not exactly safe. This time, Rainfall losing the 50-50 will be going down. Another gen does pop, so that is 3 gens completed, and Looney is very close to a 4th one. So honestly, survivors of Desperate coming out and showing how efficient they are at the gens.
Yeah, that they are. 3 generators completed. Obviously, 4K would be perfect for you if you're Xeno here, but that seems to be a little harder to achieve. You still have the portal generator being worked on, which is paradoxically really good and also not as well, for reasons which I'll get into later. But for now, credit for that stun over to Mansa. They are really doing a good job of maintaining their composure. Obviously, when you have the kill that's able to instantly down you, it's going to be a problem. But you've been able to wait out all of that evil incarnate. So now Mansa feels pretty good. You know, the resources on the map are called out, and Xeno either has to go for an M1 and allow you to make distance, or charge up to another evil incarnate, which seems to be what we're going for. But obviously, takes you a while. Meanwhile, Unhook comes out, gens are being completed.
Just that slide around that tile is going to result in the down of Mansa here. 1 gen left for the survivors of Desperate. They possibly could get this done, and actually just going back into the basement here now for the 2nd stage. It's gonna be kind of close if we get stuck in the corner. Fortunately for Xeno, we'll be getting that hook, and the survivors now a little bit on the back end. You know, these gens have slowed down quite a bit since these downs keep happening back to back, and looks like Noob, who was lurking around for that unhook, is getting caught out here. Thankfully for Noob, the evil incarnate does run out, so we'll have to get back up to that stock and to get that exposed. But might just take an M1 here as a safe pallet, and actually gets auto aim, so a miss coming out from Xeno.
Very uncharacteristic there. That's actually changed up Xeno's decision making completely. Instead of just going for the double M1s, is going to charge up to another evil incarnate instead. But Noob breaking line of sight long as humanly possible, eventually going to get caught out, and yeah, you can easily play around this. You can play around it with a dash or without it, is what I was going to say. Now the problem with this split pressure is dawning on the survivors. You know, it was a lot of credit over to them for delaying that tunnel out, but if you can't get the gen efficiency up, if you can't get them done in time, suddenly you're in a spot where you have 2 people who are essentially lame ducks, who are dead if the kill so much as looks at them, Mansa and Looney. Likely that they're going to be going to a corner of the map to fully reset. Even though Myers does have that interdown potential, it's still very much worth being healthy as much as you can against this new Myers, just to avoid the surprise of a random stalker Myers getting you out. But instead, we're going to focus on the last generator. That is the win condition, of course. Gen's the primary thing to be looking at. Is it worth it, however, if you end up giving over more and more stages? That has yet to be seen.
I think if you're the survivors of Desperate, you're just going to be trying to get as many stages out the door here. I mean, any escapes on a Meyer. We saw Myers 4K, I believe, yesterday on this map. And yeah, it looks like Looney is just going to be trying to get this gate open, and is going to be getting interrupted. Actually, no, Xeno catching out another survivor here who was going to be leaving with Looney, and now going back into that stalker mode to maybe catch the survivor off guard. I think Desperate is just gonna choose to leave Noob, especially after them hitting 2nd stage and taking as many stages as possible. It would almost be a throw if they head back in and feed Xeno all that stock into multiple downs.
Yeah, recall the. I mean, they're healing up. Mansa's healthy. It feels like they want to go for this. Of course, right now, actually, okay, no, they were just, they were biding their time, but no, okay. Nope, gonna hit 3 stages, so that's 8 stages in total, I believe, for the side of Elysium that Xeno's been able to obtain. For Maya's, generally pretty respectable, but again, in this rule set, and on this map specifically, one where we saw Maya's thrive yesterday, that isn't fantastic. Of course, we know how good the survivors are from Elysium, right? So I would not be surprised if this was something that they are able to surpass. But initially, being able to get 3 people out the door, I am pretty impressed with Desperate for that one. Very impressed.
Absolutely, Edgar. And now heading into this on the killer side, I'm sure we're going to see Mancer, who was the MVP for Desperate in those qualification stages and playing killer, I believe, every single time for his team and just showing how versatile he is on that killer side. And I am expecting great things here from the side of Desperate.
Yeah, expectation can be a rather dangerous thing, but like if you don't go in with confidence, then you're just going to be doomed for failure, right? And from what I'm hearing, the Desperate players are actually in a pretty good mood. They know that this is a tough matchup that they have, but they're feeling fine. They're relaxed about it. They're not getting complacent, but they aren't putting too much into it, which I think is honestly the perfect thing, right? When on paper you have such an underdog matchup, when you are put against a team which just has all the credentials, which are, I mean, as far as the power rankings go, if we're going off the back of Season X, which I mean, we might as well, it's the most recent DBDLeague tournament we've had, the best team in the world, then yeah, if I'm playing against the best players in the world, I'm not gonna be too upset if things don't go my way. Now what's even crazier is that things could be going the way for Desperate, of course. They're gonna be taking their turn on the killer. Not familiar exactly with who their killer player will be, but very interested to see what they can come out with. I think this is going to be the real test. The survivors were able to do a great job, but now the pressure sort of coalesces into one person in what is actually on paper a very achievable win condition. 9 stages, if you're able to get close to a 2K or a 3K. We saw yesterday, Myers is really capable of that in this rule set.
Yeah, but you also have to look at the survivor side of Elysium. You have some of the best players to ever grace DBDL, and going against that not only can cause pressure on, the killer side for Desperate, but also just how efficient they are. I mean, we see these results like 6 to 8 stages for a reason. I mean, these survivors are just cranking out generators left and right, and it's almost just impressive just to see how efficient they are. And not to mention, some of these tiles are pretty playable for Myers. And we saw that last game on Desperate side, Rainfall having that exceptional chase and almost pretty much outlasting the evil incarnate for an entire chase. And unfortunately, Mancer getting caught just at the last second there in basement. Um, but I'm excited to see Egdar, what's going to happen in this next match.
Yeah, that we are. Still waiting on the players to get themselves into the lobby. I think they maybe partied a little too hard last night with some of the Halloween festivities. It's all the candy that they were eating, all the trick or treating that they went and did. It's very, very tiring, right? Still wondering. Still wondering if we're going to get some of more of the Halloween fits, which we saw coming out yesterday in the first match, where all the where basically all the survivors where basically all the survivors were in like Halloween gear. It was, very, very fun. And I think that's kind of the idea of the All Hallows League tournament. Again, like we have some special rules, we have some interesting sets, but we still have the best of the best players every single time. The quality of the tournament, the quality of the standard of play that we have on is never going to drop. We're just, I don't know, putting the players in our own little test tube where it's like, okay, now play with just corrupt intervention and nothing else on Nurse on Father Campbell's Chapel, or you have to play Hillbilly with like the carburetor tuning guide, or something like that. Um, it's rather entertaining to get the best players in the world and then just give them like the wackiest rule sets imaginable, and then just see how they adapt to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree. All Hallows League is the fun and kind of off season from the typical, standardized tournament, and it's just really fun to see all these different like Halloween sets. Like we are seeing the Myers on the Hawkins, which is just the crowd favorite, and we saw the last match with against Invictus versus Sorrow, that hillbilly with the Apex muffler. It was very entertaining to watch. Um, but I'm excited to see these standard sets too, and how Elysium, or not Elysium, how Desperate hold up to those more standard sets against one of the best teams in the world.
I guess you could say they're getting pretty desperate.
I agree. I agree.
I do feel bad for that one. I wish I never have to resort to such a low ever again. That's what happens
Ye-
when we get on a that's what happens when we get on a long break. The direwolf influence rubs off on me, and I end up making the dad jokes, and then I just kind of get sad afterwards because I realize what I did. It's awful.
Indeed, and we are loading up as the survivors are joining. But again, I mean, 9 stages, could we see it? Yes, I'm on the hopes of Desperate. I love the underdog team. As much as I love Elysium, I even taking one set would feel great, I think, on the side of Desperate.
Like a set is great. Obviously, you have to keep your expectations somewhat muted. I would say. We were kind of discussing this point. The expectations are not on desperate. The lights are not on, and the disadvantage of being the underdog is that no one expects you to win, obviously. But the advantage of being the underdog is that no one expects you to win, and then you don't really have to be too worried. You don't have to be too concerned about like playing up to your opponent. You just play the game naturally. See if your opponent will make mistakes, because at the end of the day, they will. It can often feel like when you're going against the best of the best players, they are just like unstoppable machines that cannot make any mistakes and will play the game perfectly every time. But no, even the best players will have off days. Even the best players will make uncharacteristic mistakes. It is your job as the lower tier team, or I guess the underdogs, to take advantage of those mistakes when they get presented to you. That being said, like the higher you go, the less mistakes you're going to make. And even though, yes, the best of the best do make mistakes, as I said, Elysium sure as hell don't make many of them.
Looks like we're heading in to that pursuer mode very early on to try and just catch up here to Marco. And we see Mancer on the killer for Desperate. He does, I believe, play every killer, like I said earlier, but using that speed instead of trying to go for the stocks, it might be a little bit of a different playstyle. And the build coming out as well is slightly different. We don't see any corrupts. That means the survivors are going to be able to work whatever gen they so please. And actually getting a hit from the top ropes. Marco taking that one as Mancer is just flying from below and actually heading back into that stalker mode and maybe looking around trying to catch these survivors off guard.
Lock of Hair is a very strange add-on choice. I say strange, not that I hate it, but it's not the one we've seen yet. Of course, it doesn't quite do what it did before. That'd be a little bit strong, and actually nice read from Pedro to know that Myers is coming up the stairs and to preempt that by running away. But it means that you can cancel your Evil Incarnate early, and you'd be able to maintain a lot of your progress, which kind of implies that you want to use it in short bursts when the chase is all but done to get your down, immediately cancel it, and then snowball like that. Not sure if I prefer that to just charging up completely with something like with something like the jewelry box, but it's definitely a decision being made, right? Is it a great decision? Well, Manta doesn't have a down yet, so it has yet to be seen. And also, we can see that gen progress on the left side of the screen. They are flying right now. Zynok's going to get a quick drop of the pallet. Now you have to be a little careful. Myers is a little bit better at everything in these kinds of chases. And yeah, a moment like that, as a survivor, your muscle memory is going to be so thrown off by, like, the same exact killer. It's different if you just expect, you know, okay, they have a dash, or they have this power that can hit me through here. It's very different from that to an M1 killer who just moves like a teeny bit faster around the league, who's able to just go a little further, break a little quicker. That being said, even though Zynox is in the basement, these gens are still flying, and by the looks of it, we will have 4 generators completed for this one hook. I think Elysium are fine.
This gen efficiency that we talked about is just showing its horns right here. And 4 gens for the first hook, and they get the unhook as well, so no second stage here. We haven't seen really much of that stalking that Xeno was doing. We actually more see like a M1 like hit and run build, and we are going to be getting the down here, but we do know that a survivor is going to be probably lurking for this pallet save. Question is, can Mancer sniff them out? Can they detect them nearby?
I mean, we found one person, right? But you have to be careful. Like, you think, okay, well, you know, now I've scared them off. But, like, you're still so paranoid. And unfortunately, you may have accounted for the first survivor, but you sure as hell didn't account for the second. Xeno going to come in. Zynox is still screaming. Myers is very scary, and it is the Halloween season. I do understand, but please stop screaming. It's very annoying. This gen efficiency, by the way, this is being done through the ruin. The survivors literally didn't care about it. The slim amount of regression that our killer player has, because Manta has opted for the Trail of Torment and other things to be a bit sneakier. It's worth essentially nothing, right? And then also, you know, your Eruption Call of Brian. Call of Brian's always going to be fine, but Eruption is only good if you're getting downs. Manta isn't getting downs, so there's been maybe a total of like 1 Eruption proc this game.
There's actually been 0 because we brought Ruin in, so Mancer bringing 3 gen kick perks, but also bringing Ruin. So there has been absolutely 0 value from 3 of Mancer's perks. Maybe a little bit of a mistake here on Mancer. I mean, Elysium just been pushing through this Ruin and just completely, just unfortunately denying Mancer any of his perk values.
And yeah, the gen progress is still going absolutely fantastically for Elysium right now. They should not have been able to complete 4 generators in the time they did, bluntly. Like, that is ridiculous. And now they're going to be doing a 5th as well. A little bit of a delay on this one. Manta able to get a little bit of late game pressure, but it's all going to be worth absolutely nothing here. I don't even think we've seen a proc of Evil Incarnate come out from Manta. It's a very, very tough time. Xeno absolutely shamoning there as well, so going to be escaping the kill for even longer, and now everyone's going to be leaving out the door. Xeno can go down here, it really doesn't matter, but knowing Elysium, they're going to find a way to get Xeno out anyway.
A little bit of a mind game coming out. The 50 here is pretty much basically not, and Xeno will be going down a very, very unsafe pallet. Now, 4 stages, I mean, this is just, yeah, they're just going to leave. They're not even going to risk it. Why would you? I mean, you got the win. Elysium will be going up 1-0. This is just unfortunate for Desperate, you know.
That it is. It was a tough time, and maybe I like to form my takes probably far too early and far too hastily. I think yesterday we saw some 4Ks come out of Myers, and I was assuming, okay, well in this rule set, Myers is actually going to be really good. Maybe I need to temper those expectations a little bit and see what happens when Myers goes against a team of really, really strong survivor players. And like, it was 4 stages, sure, but like I feel like those 3 Sage Some Xeno were all but cosmetic, right? If Survivors really, really wanted to, if they really had to, they had the opportunity for a reset and maybe the ability to come in and get a save. Maybe a bit tougher against Myers on account of the insta-down potential of a Slaughtering Strike, but I feel like they could have managed it. So, tough day at the office for Desperate, of course, but we already established that they weren't going to be having a very fun time in this series, okay? We have some more to go on, right? You know, that was Elysium's pick, Myers on Hawkins, and now we're going to have Legion on the Raccoon City Police Department, which I know that I didn't, in my sets yesterday, the ones I covered, I didn't see any RPD. I would like to kind of ask a question, I guess, behind the scenes. Is this the first RPD that we're going to be seeing this weekend? Because I also think this would be the first RPD that we've seen competitively for like a very, very long time. Welcome to the Halloween season, ladies and gentlemen. A map which would not be touched with a 10-foot pole in gold standard balancing. But when we get over to All Hallows League, things get a little spookier.
There was, I believe, actually an unknown one yesterday on Midwich.
This is
So
RPD.
or RPD. I meant RPD. I meant RPD.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was an unknown set yesterday on RPD, and it was pretty brutal to say the least. It's being a little bit of a bigger map, and with that traversal, up and down, it's gonna be a little bit rough. We are seeing Legion though come out here. Um, Again, with that, with no add-ons being banned, we're gonna see that obviously that eerie button coming out, able to shred pallets. But at the end of the day, Legion is just an M1 killer. Is it gonna be a lot? And especially with this Halloween set, we see a lot of that gold standard balancing kind of go out the window. You know, we see perks that aren't usually allowed against some of these other different killers just due to the nature of these sets.
Mm.
So it'll be interesting.
Petroleum got cyberbullied yesterday playing Legion. Like it was actually really just sad to watch. I felt so bad having to cover that match. And unfortunately, I honestly feel like neither killer, even if you're like, on the side of Elysium and you're favored in this series, I don't think either of these killer players are gonna have a fun time. Because we're going to RPD, which is obviously a fantastic map for survivors. The gimmick is the etched ruler, where that means that anyone who's hit with a feral slash is going to be oblivious for the next minute, and obviously all of the indoor maps are part of the pool for these sets. So it's a jump scare Legion sort of situation, right? The problem is that spreading pressure is bad generally in competitive. You want to, even if you're not going for a tunnel out, you want to just get someone on the hook as soon as humanly possible, right? Getting a bunch of injuries, okay, cool. That doesn't really do anything for my win con. I want people dead. I want stages on the board. So you're not really going to be doing that. You're also on RPD, which is a massive map, absolutely gargantuan map. Which is also very tough to navigate if you don't have the ease of access or the ability to go between multiple floors like a nurse or something does, right? And the point is, I'm setting all this up to say, our killer's gonna have a really bad time.
Yeah, it's gonna be already brutal. We see that iridescent button coming out and actually attempting to try and body block and actually going on the hit on Zynox now and getting that main pallet out of the way super quickly can be good, but we also see are just completely going away from Chase here now onto Pedro, who is taking Chase here up on the unicorn and just taking another hit. So again, 2 early hits here. We see that edge ruler coming out with the oblivious effect, and Pedro, or not Pedro, Zynox coming in for the body block is something we see common in Legion sets, when you have the Mend going for that body block when the Legion is in power, just to deny another hit and more info coming out. Although Pedro coming out, top of main, getting caught out here. I don't know if they make it to this pallet here, and Mancer's swinging just very narrowly missing. But now this is not the best, and once that Bloodlust kicks in, it's going to be definitely really brutal to play this, and we see Pedro going down.
Yeah, we have people lurking around. You know, Zeno is a shark right now who just wants to get that pallet save immediately, but is gonna try and actually just take Legion on a little bit of a run here. You have a fantastic setup with, of course, an extremely strong pallet into a window, but actually Zeno not able to go back, ends up getting blocked. Now we're going back over to Pedro on the floor. You use the med kit to pick up Pedro. And Pedro makes a little bit of distance out of that. Not sure if that was like the most worthwhile use of the medkit, but I mean, healing against Legion is generally not done all that often, so you know what? Sure, pop off Xeno, why not?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking pretty rough there at the start for Elysium, but I mean, they brought it back beautifully. We only have one hook for one gen. But I mean, once Marco gets that full infected, actually we see Xeno healing up, so Thana going down a little bit in the stacks to help out the survivors, and Zynox taking chase towards the library side. I wonder if Mancer is going to be, you know, trying to commit to this and maybe going for a power hit to maybe get some info on the survivors nearby, getting the stun. So now the pallet will be going down, and iridescent button just completely breaking and heading actually back towards the hook that is coming right now. So we will be getting two. Actually, they didn't get the hit in time. So now Xeno will just be the one taking chase towards security deposit.
Oh, and we have another strong pallet that can be dropped. So we're going to wait to get our power back so that we can break it with the Eerie button, or we're actually just going to leave entirely. No, we can see through those little gaps where the red stain is going to be. So Xeno's able to just run for even longer and longer now. Something else that I want to draw attention to is, like, this balancing is ridiculous. We're against a Legion, and look at the perks that Xeno's able to work with. The Deliverance Survivor, currently, we have an Unbreakable and we'll make it. We have other survivors with, like, Deadard and Decisive Strike. Like, we did not need to do all that. And also, we're trying to juice at the worst palette, like, in the video game. Which, I mean, Xeno was able to buy some time on it, which I kind of respect.
2 gens pop for this, and I mean, Xeno is the Deliverance player. I mean, Deliverance against Legion is absolutely wild, but I mean, that is the fun that comes with these Halloween sets, the absolutely ridiculousness. And we now see Mancer trying to get a little bit of info, maybe expecting someone to be lurking around the library area, but now it's just going to be heading towards this main building. Now with Ruin gone, is going to have to manually apply that regression onto these generators and actually catch out Zynox here. Does have this pallet to play. It is quite safe, and I thought they were about to greet it for a second, and that definitely would have been a mistake, but now we go to this another God pallet that is just going to be immediately broken. We see that Deliverance in the background here from Xeno, and Mancer just trying to get this, but he gets stunned actually at the wrong side, so now Zynox going to be getting so much distance, but with that power, it is going to be a little bit not, but the light coming in.
And you still have these garden pallets to play with as well, which literally means that Mancer just goes, is like, I don't want to deal with this smoke, I want to go home, I want to have a blanket and a cuddle, you know, it's a tough time to be a Legion player in this day and age. I feel like these survivors just aren't really under any threat at any given time. Literally, the only tool that Mancer can rely on is resources. Because I'm keeping a small mental note of the amount of resources that have been dropped on this map, and eventually is going to be caught in the garden without anything really to work with, not quite able to get to that pallet in time. Even if they did, it's not fantastic, right? But in the meantime, the other survivors still split up on generators. It is undisputed that they will get 5 generators completed, right? You really are just playing for stages as a Legion here. You're playing for whatever scraps you can get.
And ideally, you get one of these fresh hook survivors like Zynox or Marco, and I think we're on the trail of Marco here. So we are going to be taking chase to another god palette here, and now on the helicopter side of things, this is a relatively safe palette, and actually just Marco just jiggies away and makes it to another palette and is completely going back over towards the helicopter side, and just good pathing from Marco.
Yep, able to get to the helipad, drop it, and now when you're out of pallets, we just have someone here to take a hit. It's going to be Xeno, because Xeno very much wants to give up their life. Xeno isn't even going to do that. Xeno doesn't even have to give up their life, because there was another pallet at the bottom of those stairs to work with. Final generator going to be completed. And we've changed the game. Xeno is now chasing Mansa. The survivors are chasing the killers, being like, no, please kill me. And like the killer is just desperately running away from them.
An excellent use of the 99 sprint burst. We're going to be taking the vault here now that Xeno is here for the body block. We'll be taking the down, and that will be just the 4th stage once again. And actually, we also saw Marco playing around that iridescent button very well. If you vault back and forth while they're trying to vault the pallet, you can actually deny them completely from getting that broken pallet with iridescent button. But I mean, 4 stages, it's a very similar result to what we saw in the Meyer set, and now Elysium going to be coming out onto the killer and trying to meet that win con.
We are seeing like a new standard of survivor here, right? I think that's kind of undisputed. Yesterday, some of the survivor teams were having some uncharacteristic performance against these, weaker killers on these indoor maps, but then you bring out Team Elysium. It is quite literally like showing up to like a pickup basketball game with your friends, and you just have LeBron just on your team for some reason. Like it's so messed up, but here we are anyway. Yeah, I don't have much doubt that we're going to be able to get at least 5 stages here for. I'm not entirely sure who specifically, but likely Xeno, but whoever would pick up the Legion here for Elysium. That being said, I am a believer in Desperate. Like, they'll be able to get people out the door. Again, this is like a terrible, terrible time for Legion to have. But I think the advantage of going second and knowing your win con is just, like, also very beneficial for Elysium here. They can change their plan around it because they're not really too worried about generator defense as much as they are just getting the stages on the board, right? Being as lethal as possible, even if that means sacrificing some gen pressure. Guess what? You can let all the gens go. That's completely fine. You were able to do that. Point is, can you get people sent up into that great big bird in the sky? The answer is probably.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how difficult RPD is as a map for Legion. At the end of the day, M1 killer. A lot of these pallets that we saw, I mean, how many different god pallets go down? And then with the teamwork of Elysium, Xeno with the body blocks, dropping the pallets in Mancer's face and just denying that. And on top of that, just their gen efficiency is just, it's almost unmatched.
That it is, and that's something which we've seen here, but also on the Myers set as well, right? By the time that Elysium had 4 generators completed, most teams would have 2 generators completed, right? Like obviously they were able to bring along things like Deja Vu, like Visionary to get the calls on them, but then they're also calling exactly who should be going on what gen at every separate time. It's micromanagement, but in the best way possible, right? Not as a general rule necessarily, right? But like you can tell how good a survivor team is, sort of just based on how busy and hectic their comms are, because there's so many things to call out, right? Obviously, some teams will take it too far and just call out everything that doesn't need to be. But like with anything that could potentially be relevant, that could potentially be helping the rest of the team, you know that Elysium's calling it out, right? Some of the kind of qualifier teams that have gotten through, so some of the still fantastic teams, but not necessarily, the championship contenders. On Survivor side, their comms will just go quiet. and basically no one's really making call outs, no one's really saying where people need to be, and then that leads to miscommunications, that leads to gen pressure not being what it should be, and it's just a very tough time all around for Desperate today. But hey, at least there's a lower bracket.
Yeah, Desperate isn't completely out if they lose today against Elysium, which let's be honest, Elysium, it's a tough opponent. Desperate
Yeah.
underdogs. I mean, you want to root for them, but against a giant team like this, I mean, just absolute legends here on the team of Elysium. It's a hard ask, and you can't really be expecting them to win. But now we are going to be getting into this next match here. This survivors of Desperate have to get 4 out of the game, and we have a lot of oh my gosh, I can't speak. Different build here coming out from Xeno.
Yeah, heavy on the slowdown, which definitely makes a lot of sense. Questions can arise when you're on a lower tier killer of like, what do I do for slowdown, and then how many chase perks do I bring in instead? Would Xeno want to bring along something like a blood favor or a crowd control or something along those lines? But instead, is just going to be full sending it into the generators. Noob going to be taking the first chase. Actually, not going to be dropping the pallet. I kind of like this discipline because you know that an iridescent button is going to be there. Try your best to not drop pallets when you're not in danger and there's no reason to, right? We get a pretty quick break with the Eerie button, and we see Xeno actually try and lunge ahead of Noob. But Noob right now just holding W till Kingdom Come. It's doing a pretty good job. Is going to be able to make this window vault, but no, actually goes over to the helipad instead. Gets to the pallet in this small corridor. But somehow it doesn't quite work out for the fella. And that's pretty tough. That Unbreakable's got to come in huge.
Yeah, we do notice that Noob is the Deliverance player, and it looks like Looney's gonna be getting caught out here. And no, the auto aim actually just denies Looney from going down. That is not what you want to see. Now we are going to be going back to the pickup, and unfortunately, no one is going to be around for that pallet save, so we already seen that first hook and on the deli player nonetheless. That is just brutal. And first stack of Grim, something we didn't see last match.
Yeah, why not just sink the knife into the wound even deeper, right? Looney very much could have been dead there and the game would have been over, but as fate would have it, Desperate need to live a little bit longer today. Mansa just gets smacked there before Xeno decides I've got better things to do with my time. He's going to be sticking around the hook of Noob. It's likely that someone's going to be positioning for him relatively soon. So Xeno wants control of this. Only one generator going to be popping thus far. But, yeah, what other choice do you have when the swide's being injured, they're being forced to mend constantly? It's a really tough day at the office for Desperate here.
Not to mention that Ruin just going to be coming in on this very highly progressed gen as Xeno is going back and forth from the gen in the hook. But now is going to be looking to confirm this second stage here onto Noob. We do see that Undying leave of the trial, but Ruin's still active, so going to be having to find another totem. Rainfall is actually going to be popping this gen right in front of Xeno's face. Noob did hit second though, so now Xeno can extend a little bit further. We have an interrogation room here, not the safest, and yeah, we will be getting that M1 power into the immediate cancel here. No God Palette here, and it looks like Rainfall was actually expecting that God Palette to be in main and not there, so maybe a little bit of blunder there on the communication side from Desperate.
I mean, speaking of a blunder, look who is still hanging on the hook. It's Noob, right? And the problem is that Xeno can very easily intercept this. Because no one went for the pull-in time before Rainfall was being taken off. Now, instead, a juicier target has been spotted in Mansa, right? And that'll be completely fine with you. Take another fresh stage. Why don't you? Should be able to secure your win outright, and that would do it, especially when Mansa ends up getting red on this pallet and just gets vaulted right back into.
Did Mancer vault back in thinking they were in iridescent button, or did he just lose the 50? That was really unfortunate. Mancer just moving himself up to Xeno. That is super unfortunate. We do see Noob getting reset, but I mean, they can only give up one more stage here. Actually, the win con is met because the
Yeah, 4 stages refresh now.
Refresh. So yeah, the win con is met. So Elysium will be taking this second set as well. And I mean, it's a tough ask, of course, when you're coming into the Survivors of Desperate, only giving up 4 hooks against a killer like Xeno, who is just very powerful.
I do hope that the survivors don't get 4K here. That would be pretty rough, especially because, like, you can expect a loss here, but a 4K would be, like, a real shame. And again, like, the miscommunications are happening right there. Like, of course, fortunately, Looney has the sprint burst, maybe not quite as badly called, but we know that these survivors aren't calling out important things to each other, right? They're running by gens that their friends are working on, so they just tag up an injury real quick. People are expecting pallets to be there in places where they absolutely shouldn't be. Desperate need to try their best, as hard as it is against a killer of this caliber, to just focus up as hard as possible and call out the things that matter. Because right now, they're not really playing as a team, they're playing as just 4 individuals, and a good killer will exploit that every single time.
Yeah, and we are going to be getting that pickup here, and actually Mancer was going for the pallet save and then hesitated, which results in an injure for Mancer. Now, Noob is going to be getting another gen complete, but I mean, compared to what we saw last match from Elysium, and now 4th stack of Grim, so
that gen won't be complete.
It won't be complete. 40 seconds of no gens, and the survivors kind of just twiddling their thumbs, trying to figure out what to do. Hopefully we see some resets, and hopefully poor Looney gets up off that hook shortly. But still, I mean, that is brutal. Already more than half of Grim gone, and we do see Looney getting unhooked, but now Mancer going up there onto his second hook.
Yeah, this is looking increasingly rougher and rougher as time goes on. Noob is dead on hook and basically has nothing to work with in this area. Xeno can try to body box best as possible. Instead, Rainfall is going to be the one able to do it. So Xeno, again, more than happy to just swap attention at this point. You have your win secured. You're feeling good. You're feeling fine already. Currently playing perkless on account. Your Grim Embrace has been exhausted, your Ruin Undying's gone, and your Corrupt ran out within the first 2 minutes of the match. But point is, you're still doing fine. The survivors are in such a precarious position right now. And we end up getting the hit right through here. So, again, we're going to have someone dead, and the 4K is looking increasingly more likely.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you here, Egdar. And Noob saying goodbye to this trial. 3v1 just becomes more and more pressure here for the survivors of Desperate, and it just becomes even easier for Xeno to pressure these survivors. It's an unfortunate sight. And actually, Looney greeting the pallet and knowing that Xeno is in the power can just completely not drop these pallets and force Xeno basically into a 50-50 here, and it will be one, but unfortunately he just completely stuck in this. Xeno maybe showing a little bit of a fun banter there with going into the power and knowing Looney has nowhere to run. Yeah, another gen was complete though,
it is what Sun Tzu wrote about. To destroy your enemy physically, you must first destroy them mentally.
Indeed, and Rainfall is going to be taking this chase here. Will taking the power hit, but Looney gets hit, unhooked relatively quick, and now going to be taking all of these Feral Frenzy hits, and the last one going to be onto Mancer here, and actually canceling the power just to deny Mancer getting to this pallet, but still is going to be able to, and Now, again, Forset is very unsafe palette, which RPD does have quite a few of. And oh, surprise! Hello. We'll be going down on this pallet. Is there survivors nearby? No.
There is no survivor nearby. Just so sad. Well, they actually are, but right now they're just focusing on the final gen. And hey, they're playing for the win con, right? Also, I'm sorry, Looney gets adrenaline? We let adrenaline get... Why did you give the survivors adrenaline, bro? It's Legion.
Deliverance allowed, adrenaline allowed, full exhaustions against Legion, which you typically do not see. But I mean, and Looney actually doing a good job denying this, and no, it's not able to get it in time. So now, gonna be unfortunately just heading probably down, going down here soon. Rainfall leaving, maybe trying to give Looney hatch. Another stage out the door would be honorable for Desperate, to say the least.
Yeah, but honestly, right now, it looks very much like Looney could just make it. The front exit gate wasn't open. Wait, I'm sorry. Did Looney run to the front exit gate just assuming that was the one that would be open?
What?
Nah, it might be Joe Snipes. It might be Joe, bro.
I would agree with you here, and yeah, for Frenzy coming into the already mending Looney, trying to go for the fake, doing a little bit of a spin here, and just kind of having some fun before this trial ends. They're going to be seeing the good old Legion Mori coming out, but Elysium going up 2-0. They gotta feel nice coming into this next set, which we will see. It's going to be Demo on Rancid Abattoir. I don't. It's a very interesting map. Would you say, Egdar?
Yeah, we haven't seen Demo on Rancid for ever, basically.
Ever.
Like, like generally, it's ARP, like just constantly. It's ARP, which saw Demogorgon on, and then recently that was rejigged a little bit so that we would go over to something like Cold Tower 1. But obviously we come to Halloween season and we're going third priority for all of our gold standard killers. Therefore, that means that we're going to Rancid Abattoir, which is a strange one for Demogorgon. I will put it like that in the nicest way possible. It's not really. How do I put this nicely? It's not really one where you can do anything. You know what I mean? It's not like a. It's not like okay, well, I can like on ARP, Demogorgon sets were so interesting because it always had like the choke points and how you could control 3 gens by placing your portal strategically. You don't really have that same option on the Abattoir. Your chase power is going to be somewhat neutered by the fact there's just a lot of very strong tiles to work with. Again, Demo's chase has never really been the problem, but it's going to be a tough one. And to be honest, if you're desperate, you were kind of looking for wins in these like weirder sets on account of the fact of like, okay, well, they're new sets. They're probably things which Elysium wouldn't have scrimmed so much on. You know, we can get a surprise, like a surprise victory, a surprise set stolen on one of these. Gold standard against Elysium, like you're just screwed. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a brutal set. This is actually Elysium's pick, I do believe. So,
Yes.
so just well, I think the last time I played Rancid was against a hag. It's been definitely a
I
while since I've
genuinely
seen it
think
in
the
the
last
competitive
time
scene.
I played against a hag was on Rancid as well.
Yeah. And
Then again, I've not actually played against a hag in like 2 years, to be honest.
it's definitely going to be an interesting map to witness here, and especially with this main building with the railings and kind of those long passageways.
Bug where couldn't place portal, and then also a crash on the survivor side anyway. Well, how about that?
Yeah, that was interesting. I thought It was very, very interesting to load in, and Xeno doing circles already, and checking lockers from the start when survivors were near him. Um, it is gonna be a no fault restart.
No, he was just doing the 30-second AFK challenge, you know. But
Yes, yes.
and wanted and somehow would have got the win anyway because, it's Xeno. But I would not have been surprised. But yeah, so it's a no fault restart. This means that restart the game, but there's going to be no penalties inflicted on either side. Either side can, of course, change their build if they would like to anything within the balancing. But yeah, I do like how literally at the start of one game in the same lobby, we had the killer's game stop working, and then the survivor's game just crashed completely. What a wonderful world we're living in.
Indeed, and we do get rainfall back in and loaded up as we try and give this another try here. Hopefully this time around we can avoid the bugs, avoid the game crashes, and just carry on with our sets.
Yeah, it would be ideal, especially because like I feel like we are on the inevitable road as to where this set will be ending up, right? Like I'd be very surprised if we saw anything aside from Elysium just like winning here in what could be like pretty one-sided dominant fashion as well. It's a very tough time. Um, but like, yeah, hopefully we can get through this. Hopefully, Desperate can show some signs of life because again, they're still lower bracket, and we want them to have the best run possible, right? We do not want a team like this to be leaving us so early.
Especially after showing so much dominance in that qualification. We saw great things coming out from the survivor side of them. Absolute juicing chases, and even Mancer. I mean, Mancer, incredible performance on killers that were completely different. He played killer for every single set of Desperate, and just showed us incredible things each and every time he came out onto the set. Um, and unfortunately, the first matchup going against Elysium, it's just unfortunate at the very least here, Egdar. And now we are going to be loading in. Looks like, can he place portals? Yes, portals can be placed. No bugs occurring. No game crashes. the
Oh yeah,
quick silence.
oh yeah. Watch this.
The quick silence to see if Xeno could actually place the portals here. And actually, we saw a demo earlier on in the day, except for it was a Halloween set. So now we're getting a little bit more of a gold standard balancing instead of the wacky red moss that we saw earlier on Midwich.
Yep. 1v1 players rejoice. It is going to be the Rat's Heart and Barb's Glasses, as we know and love them, combined up together. Noob right now already doing a pretty good job. Was able to dodge out the first shred, get over to this pallet gem, the kind of tile which you kind of have to pre-drop to make it work as a survivor, and then you kind of have to break to make it work as a killer. So some very good work there for Noob making some distance. We're actually delaying the first down by Xeno quite a lot. And this is kind of how you can play effectively against a Demogorgon. The Demo 1v1s are very strong, right? We know this. This chase power isn't something to be feared. However, the idea is that Demo can't do tons in the 4v1. The portals are inconsistent. Like, they're not the most spectacular 4v1 power. But again, it feels like we're having a little bit of a communication error. Again, the survivors running into each other in the main building as well, which should be pretty simple to call out. And now pressure's going to be split onto Mancer.
And going for the fake shred here, Mancer will be taking M1 at this pallet. It can be relatively safe if you loop it around this long side, but again, it's only a matter of 50s, and Mancer seemingly won that one, but unfortunately, he'll actually win that one. Xeno just kind of bonking there at the barrels. A little bit of a bigger hitbox there on them than you would think. And now Mancer just, I mean, denying this down. Can he win the 50-50? He does again, and he gets out of main building. That is what you want if you're the survivor side of Desperate. This is an incredible denial of the first down.
Yeah, that it is. I mean, like, so many of these tiles are so awkward for a demo to play around. Eventually, going to take advantage of a little bit of grief from Mancer, get over and finally get that down. But it's really delayed. We're going to see 2 gens pop for it. Maybe a Pain Resonance could delay the second one, at least for a spell. But right now, everything's looking pretty good for the survivors. There's actually no Pain Res here at all. So it's Grim Embrace for your slowdown, and then batteries included as well. Poker's been getting a lot more popular recently in sets like the Doctor. Right now, I think Xeno's the one that needs the Doctor, because these survivors are doing an absolutely fantastic job of just denying him at every single opportunity so far.
And I mean, Rainfall having an absolute juicer of a chase there, and Xeno's just going to be completely going away, trying to see where these other survivors are at, maybe trying to pressure them off the gens and get that ruin to do a little bit of work here and get these gens regressing. And we are now taking chase here onto Noob at the cow tree with Lithe, so going to be getting a little bit distance and playing that long side, trying for a cheeky shred through the window, but Noob is aware of it and is going to be playing a little bit farther away from the window, and 2 gens pop for this. I mean, 1 stage for this many generators. It's just crazy.
Yeah, okay, Desperate, I see you. You've been leveling up in that break. First you sent bugs to, kill Xeno's computer at the cost of one of your own players as well. But yeah, even though Noob's going to go down, the gens are still flying. You're going to get another one completed by the time Hook comes out. Could you possibly, get all the gens done in this time? It seems increasingly more likely. Mancer and Rainfall doubling up on this one on the top side. Looney, unfortunately, going to be forced to leave the position for that unhook. And the Grim Embrace at the last second. Going to stop it. Can Xeno get there to contest it in time, though?
I don't believe we're going to the right generator here. It looks like we're actually going to the one I think Rainfall was working in. Might be seeing a lurk here. Actually, it was Looney who was working it. So Looney gonna be taking chase here at the cow tree. Still has this pallet to work with and very strong here. And just gonna be taking that tag and leaving completely. This gen does have a lot of progress, so you definitely don't want to be taking chase anywhere nearby. Noob still just hanging on in the basement, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a unhook coming out here very soon. But Looney, nothing really to work with here at the back side of main, so we'll just be taking it down. And that will be another stack of Grim Embrace, and more just stopping these gens from being completed.
Yeah, still a lot of pressure. Survivor's going to have to heal up for a minute. Rainfall actually in a bit of an awkward spot by this Harvester. Is able to utilize the balance side to keep position to get away, and Xeno not able to cover all that distance to interrupt it, so no trade comes out. Instead, it's going to be a relatively clean unhook. Of course, Rainfall is going to be under a bit of scrutiny right now, and Xeno is just changing the win con off. You can tell right now, Xeno's playing around a fresh hook, just going for whatever possible right now to secure more freshes, try and get more stages in the end game, because we're definitely going to be going that way here. So I don't know if it's the balancing, I don't know if it's Desperate, I don't know if, I'd say Xeno having an off day would be wrong, because we've seen Xeno just dominate twice in a row. But Xeno having an off map, I couldn't tell you right now. But the point is, there's a pretty good job being done for these survivors. But this end game is going to say a lot, right? There's the potential for them to get out with 4 stages, which would be a fantastic result, or 6, which is definitely something the Elysium survivors could look at and exceed.
Yeah, Yeah, and we see that unhook coming out onto Rainfall. Rainfall is running towards the main building here, hopefully getting a body block here, I believe, from Mancer. Not going to be able to get to the doorway in time, so we are just going to be taking that down. And now Mancer does dodge the shred attack very, very skillfully. And we still have a pallet here to work in the mid. It's just going to be chucked down as it seems we're going to head straight back. And Looney actually takes a hit, maybe trying to get this pickup here onto Rain, who is about half recovered. And Noob going to be trying to maybe get that. There was a firecracker attempt, I believe, but no no save coming out. Now,
The cavalry is here.
Do they play for this? This is very, very scary. We've seen a lot of end games come out in the worst for rare, but actually gets the unhook relatively free, and everyone's just trying to fit through these narrow doorways. Mancer is going to be taking a tag. They should be able to.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, as you say, there's such narrow doorways, has to go through. How do we... No! I'm sorry, no! We can't let that happen. We're in a position where we could be taking a set off of Elysium, and yet we let one of our players go down on the walk to the X gate. There's still two healthy survivors. There's still so many enclosed environments that the killer is forced to go through, and you could body block. Now it seems all but confirmed that you're going to be forced out of the exit gates, and you're going to be giving more stages over to the killer.
That is definitely a major blunder coming out from Team Desperate, as we see Mancer getting hooked, and they're still going for it. I mean, they got to, at this point, they have to play for the most stages, but Looney gets hit completely away from this unhook, and now actually the survivors of Desperate are just taking what they can get and allowing Mancer to just die on the hook. We are going to be taking the 3 out, but still, if it comes down to just a couple stage difference, you know they are just going to be absolutely just feeling rough about that.
Like, given how good their early game was, I understand, like, it's difficult to execute at that higher level. I understand that you had an exit gate, which was relatively far away from the unhook, but, like, we could have been in a spot where 4 stages was viable. If not 4, then 5, but instead, 7 stages. Again, full credit to Desperate. I think their early game was fantastic, but they had, like, a bit of a late game collapse, if I'm being honest, right? As one of our staff members would say right now, they had they had a 6-stage result, and then they managed to make it 4, and then they miraculously managed to make it 7, all in the span of like 30 seconds. That is very, very rough, and it sounds like I'm harping on it a lot, but that's 3 extra stages given. Demo on Rancid Abattoir will not be performing very well. It is a not very good killer on a quite survivor-sided map, so the survivors are expected to get out. So the killer is not expected to get more than like 5 stages, possibly 6, right? So 7 is... There was such a good opportunity. I'm just sad for Desperate being able to do so well in a series like this, and then in the span of literally seconds, it got taken away.
Yeah, just very unfortunate. I mean, we saw how Xeno kind of struggled to get that initial, down to begin with. I mean, on a map like Rancid, these pallets can be very strong, and a lot of them not suited to Demo's shred, as we saw at the main building at that barrel, just not being able to get around that with the hitboxes. And it's just, it's unfortunate to see what could have been an incredible result. And yeah, just unfortunate to say the least, Egdar.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. Now we're going to be waiting for things to load in here. There's still an opportunity, right? But likely going to be Manta taking up the helm of Killer for Desperate. He's going to have to put on a clinical performance, right? You kind of have to do... Because as I was saying earlier, your 4v1 as Demo kind of sucks, right? Your 1v1s are decent. You have to play up here massively if you're Mansa, of course, but like you have to play up and make sure that your chases are fantastic, and that's how you're piling on your pressure, right? You don't even. I don't even think you need to go for a tunnel out here necessarily. I don't think you have to be like quite that desperate, so to speak. But you have to do like everything that you can to have fantastic chases, get them as quick as possible. Remember, Xeno's first down was like really, really slow. Um, it was yeah, I think it was like 2:36 or something like that for the first down. Point is, it took quite a while. So if you're able to get something a bit better than that for Mansa here, then you're off to a decent start.
Yeah, and knowing the survivors of Elysium, they're going to be well versed in the chase and going to be have extensive chases, so we could even see possibly longer than a 2 minute and a 2.5 minute down. But again, only time will tell, and maybe Manser can pull out something that will shock us.
Yeah, definitely looking for that. Um, Trying to get these survivors into the lobby. Of course, we apologize for some of the delays that have been happening. There have been some unfortunate errors with the game today. Sometimes it likes to cooperate with us, sometimes very much doesn't. Let's just hope the Manta is able to place portals down. That would be a very, very good start, but it's looking, yeah, like all the players are ready. We should be getting into the game any second now. And yeah, all right, for Desperate, for Mansa especially. Not to put too much pressure on or anything, but you're gonna have to overperform here if you want to extend your lease on life in this series. And again, even if you ever take a single set off of Elysium, that will take you a long, long way. Not just in terms of the quality of games, but also in your confidence.
Absolutely, Egdar. And I mean, 7 stages for the tie, 8 for the win. Can Manser pull it off? That is what we are going to answer right here in what could be the final trial of Elysium versus Desperate. I mean, Elysium putting on an absolute show as usual. They are one of the best teams in the world, so it's no shocker to anyone that they are coming out in such a dominant performance here, leading 2-0. Manser does notice, I think, a pallet drop here, or it's a window vault actually, coming out from Xeno, probably trying to take chase here, and we see a little bit of a few different names coming out here. We see Sile and Ivan coming out on the survivor side, and just a beautiful crouch tech coming out from Xeno to avoid this early shred coming out.
Yeah, like you know that when you have an entire team with star-studded names like this, things are really rough for whichever kill is going to have to go against them, right? Xeno going all the way through main building here. Interesting. It seemed as if Silly was in a position to maybe take a hit, but no, just sort of lurking around instead. Meanwhile, Marco and Ivan just working on some generators over in the distance. Xeno still has the main building, and yeah, eventually we're going to put Silly in a spot to take that hit. No hesitation from Mansa, just takes that injury, and now is going to switch targets completely. Silly definitely has to be ready for something like that. But right now we have both injured survivors kind of running the same direction. You have to be careful here. You cannot get complacent. We saw the amount of juicing that Mansa was able to do yesterday, and are we actually doing this? And is it actually working? The look at me tech is something very new, hasn't been patched out of the game, and it's working amazingly. The I'm gonna distract you with flashing light, which allowed Sile to actually make it out of the abattoir and over to some decent fills. But I think that Sile's luck has just about run it.
And that luck indeed will be running out as we take that first down. Roughly the same. I think it was a little bit quicker than
Yeah,
what the
157.
survivors of Desperate. So yeah, roughly 2 minutes. So 30 seconds. And as we know, every second in this trial matters. And so now Mance are actually going to be just completely leaving this hook. Does have to play for 4 freshes, so that is another part of the win con. You know, you could get the tunnel out, but you also have to make sure you get those freshes and potentially to play for that win con. And now actually heading back towards this cow tree. I believe it's still here, yes. And we see Zeno around with the flashlight. However, the pallet going down, windows blocked. Is Zeno gonna be here? He gets it through the blind! No way, and actually is gonna be taking probably an M1 or a shred here. Man, look, going for a bit of a flick and actually just misreading what Zeno was gonna be doing. Now, we go back to something we saw earlier with Elysium, them being so close for this pallet save and not able to do anything. Can he get there in time? No, and the pallet goes down for it as well, and an injure. Oh my gosh, Egdar, this could be exactly what Desperate need.
Kind of worst case scenario, right? Zeno is like so confident to just be baiting like so much attention, and I'm not sure I fully understand it. You know, like you can't give too many stages. You need to get 6 stages out the door. Well, you need to get 6 stages outdoor for your win. Like this is very confident play. And yet somehow it's working. Unfortunately, this is a hook in a really good location for Mansa. It's able to cover some of the bottom side gens, has pretty good view. Like, this is a spot where Mansa might want to stick around.
We did hear some grunts of pain from Marco, who was lurking around that area. And now it looks like Ivan might be trying to come in for this unhook, as he is the only healthy survivor on the side of Elysium. But still his bar is ticking down lower and lower, needing to get this unhook coming in. And we are going to be taking this last minute trade. But will Mancer just take this on? Yeah, he will just take this hook, and that flashlight coming out. But again, it's just gonna be narrowly dodging this, and now no resources to work with here. Zeno is in a dead zone. He's gonna be going down as well. This is starting to spiral out of control for Elysium.
Yep, this is gonna be the 4th stage over. Now I think Elysium, they might be panicking a little bit. They were able to get Ivan off the hook like immediately. That's the thing, right? You know, Ivan had to be literally taken instantly off the hook there. In the meantime, Manson just searching around to see what more you can get. There's been certainly an attempt by Zeno to play altruistically. Hasn't been particularly successful. Now Marco gonna go on a hook, gonna be the 5th stage, and like now I'm not feeling too good for these survivors. It seems like very much like Mansa's gonna be able to get those stages required. 8 as a minimum would be an easy win.
And that bamboozle coming into play here, blocking off that window, and just denying Ivan from basically that part of the map where there's a lot of resources. And gonna be getting that litho, so actually gonna be getting a lot of distance and making their way towards the Baylor, and just so much distance here now. It has been made, and Mancer recognizes this, heading back towards the bottom side of the map where he knows not a lot of resources to work with, and gens being progressed. That final pallet in this bottom side is going to be going back down, and now it's going to be Zeno back on the chase.
Yeah, there's nothing down. I think Manta is feeling pretty good about that one. Zeno going on hook will take us to 6 stages, and that's a very precarious spot for our survivors to be in. Their gen progress has been bad, to put it bluntly. They're only able to get their 3rd generator done now, relatively late into the match, and I think it's just too little too late. You know, they have to go for the insta unhook onto Zeno. No one's able to reset. Now Ivan's dead, and I'm having a quick look here. that will be the tie condition met anymore, and this is going to be a win for Desperate.
And just the last stack of pain res also just denying this main gen from getting any more progress on it. And all survivors are just, they're injured. They haven't had time to reset because these chases haven't been lasting very quickly. And perhaps it's due to this bamboozle, you know, shutting down these tiles with these windows, and the fake comes out from Marco, but will just be taking it. And Mancer, yeah, now realizing the match is won, these survivors are just all around. Are taking another hit onto Zeno at the window. Beautiful shred there, I would say. And we have Silly here as well, taking the down. It's a 4K2 potentially. Looking like it more and more, Egdar. What is happening?
Well, yeah, they certainly put some new names in. Well, not new names necessarily, but some different names on Survivor. We've seen how that has worked out for people, right? Maybe they make the executive decision to play their original Survivor roster next time. Not that I would know. Not that I'm part of the dugout, but I think quite like that. I'm going to be able to utilize this live, but it's not going to make much distance. And yeah, everyone's going to be slugged out. No unbreakable or anything. We're in gold standard balancing, ladies and gentlemen. It's not like the Legion set that we saw before. So Marco and Zeno are going to be stuck on the ground, and eventually Ivan will go down, and the 4K2 will be secured.
Yeah, and one of the last resources remaining here on the map. This Bloodlust is kicking in. A mind game coming out from Mancer, trying to bait it out. We will see the pallet being dropped, but I mean, just incredible. Mancer coming out here, and you know, he can say he 4K'd Elysium. That's something a lot of players can't necessarily say. So, you know.
Yeah, no, you do raise a good point. I certainly have never 4K'd Elysium. Have you 4K'd Elysium, Snipes?
Absolutely not. So
yeah,
I mean, Mancer,
exactly.
if there's one thing to walk away from this, you know, even if they do end up losing that last set,
come on, bro. Come on, bro. just put us out of our misery already. What?
And
no. Why are you deciding to choose now?
Yeah, the juice came a little bit too late. Looks like Ivan will be getting hit for that. And so now the final down coming out. Desperate takes the set. It is not another 3-0 as we saw in the Invictus one. Desperate take a set. And so we will be moving on to the fourth set for today, which is going to be Spirit on Ormond Lake Mine. What an interesting pick. We saw it yesterday with the Huntress, which was very interesting, and we saw a lot of good things coming out from Exodus versus Petroleum there, but Spirit on Ormond Lake Mine, that is an interesting pick here at Egdar.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, we saw some of the Ormond Lake Mine yesterday on Huntress. That was a very unique map for sure. I am very interested to see what the Spirit can make of this. Spirit is traditionally played on records, so it's going to be very, very different to see. In terms of the map itself, it's a fun one, I think. The elevation is always quite nice. I think that whoever plays Killer is gonna have a bit of a tough time. It's a decently sized map. It obviously has a lot of room to maneuver about, but of course Spirit doesn't really struggle in that department. It also means that we're likely going to see Obi come out for Elysium, play some of the more specialist killers, so to speak. So it's going to be quite exciting to see him pick it up. You know, it's always nice. I think it's good for teams. A lot of teams will just have one person pick up every single killer, which I think is fine. Generally, I think the best play is that you have 2 killer players, generally no more than that. One to cover. Yeah, traditionally it was one would cover the M1s and one would cover everything else, but as there were just so many more kills being added into the game that skirt the line between like M1 or not. Like that kind of goes out the window, and it is essentially just we'll have two killers and we'll just split their playtime as much in half as we can. And they will pick up the killers that some of them are comfortable with and some of them are less comfortable with.
I absolutely agree. So we are making it to the fourth set, and by miraculous means, if we make it to that fifth set, we could be seeing some of those special rules coming in. We saw them yesterday: Nurse with only corrupt and survivors having no perks, and there's more of that. There's 5 other different rules that come with that tiebreaker set, and it would be a treat nonetheless to see another one of those sets played out.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, it would be. Um, Desperate able to take something off the board here. So Elysium are going to have their perfect record tainted. On paper, definitely an upset in that sense of the word, though there might be some discussion as to exactly how there might be a little bit of discussion as to who like whether that was necessarily Desperate playing up or Elysium playing down. Point is, we're going to come over to Spirit anyway, and even though we've only seen one Spirit matchup, so far things look not great for our favorite Japanese lady in the fog. Gens being completed every single time, 0% 4K rate, average of 5 generators per game. And even despite an average first down of less than a minute, like 50 seconds, it seems like on the Ormond Lake mine, I think there's maybe just too much like distance for the Spirit to be dealing with to comfortably get between all the separate generators and pressure them effectively.
And it's so unlike Wrecker's Yard, typically it's a smaller map, and more compact, You have that shack centering the entire map, and you're able to traverse, and you have hills that you can get a lot of info from. Ormond Lake Mine, you have a lot of these like dips and churns and a lot more clutter, I would say, as far as the map goes. And you have some of these gens that can, hide away on the sides of the mains and the shack building as well, and in those little trenches as well. So I'm curious to see how this is going to be played out from both sides. If maybe we see some incredible mind games coming out from the phasing of Spirit, or maybe we just see some incredible ways to play some of these unique tiles that Ormond brings.
Yeah, very, very unique. And we know the strength of Spirit, right? Obviously, recently her crown of third place is being contested by a certain, headless intestinal monster singer lady thing. But so Spirit's always going to be phenomenal, and it especially helps if you have someone on your side that can specialize in that. I think Mansa just going to pick things up for Desperate once more as we start to load into this lobby. But I would I have a feeling, right, that we saw Elysium a bit locked out. I would like to see them lock in again. Um because at that point, obviously we're kind of writing off that last one. Not to discredit Desperate or anything, but a matter of okay, well, it just so happens that they mess things up a little, right? This time, like if Elysium lose this one as well, it's not such a trend anymore. And I have seen it before in several esports titles where the kind of overdog team will play down a bit and they give up, say a map or in this case like a trial or a set, and they'll think that's fine, we'll pull it back later. But then later they actually can't pull it back, and then inadvertently they're being taken the distance by a team which on paper should not be touching them.
Yeah, and I feel like Desperate are going to have a little bit of a fire beneath them now, taking that set from Elysium. It was their map pick as well. Like This is just going to be incredible. And actually, we're going to be potentially seeing a first down already here onto Marco at the back of main building. That was a quick chase. And the survivors of Elysium, who we know are so gen efficient, they barely got even 25, 40% on some of these generators. That was a 50-second chase. Incredible coming out from Mancer.
Yeah, 50-second, literally bang on average of what we've seen Spirit thus far. Of course, we're waiting on more data points for that to be developed over time, but Mancer already certainly in a good spot. Mancer seems to be a fan of the agitation, which is like, obviously you don't have any pain reses, so you're not going to get direct value that way, but being able to be a bit more selective with your hook locations is always nice. Call of Brine and Dragon's Grip. The Dragon's Grip is nice the first time round for any, you know, sudden exposed M1s, but realistically, you're using it in conjunction with the Call of Brine, you know. Not only is Call of Brine itself good regression at the 150 mark and decent information, but the survivors also can't really risk touching the Dragon's Grip gen, or else they're going to get exposed, and against the killer like Spirit, probably just immediately downed. So we're able to have one gen fly over in the corner, does not phase Mancer in the slightest, just continues to stare down this unhook. And Dino actually going to go in quite forcibly for the trade here. So definitely will be a trade. Goes in with the UB in case they wanted to commit back to Marco, but instead for the trade, be happy to get onto Zeno. Now I think that Mancer is going to be hot on the heels of Marco, who has already dropped Shag Palette in anticipation. That is crazy.
Yeah, I believe they dropped it as Zeno was getting hooked, just to make
with
sure.
Zero pressure.
And we are going to be taking Chase to the corner of the map as Zeno is getting unhooked in the distance. Pedro will be completing another gen here, but now we have a Death on Hook survivor, which can become a major problem if they get tunneled out. And we are seeing use of this agitation to drag Marco further into this map in more central area, I would say, around some of these generators.
Yeah, and obviously whenever you're going against a super strong killer like Spirit, like Nurse, you like the idea of, well, I go down in the corner of the map. If I can't stop the down from happening, I'm going to do it in a spot where everyone is screwed. Speaking of being screwed, Zeno, brother, you just tapped the Dragon's Grip gen. And now you're going to be paying the price for it. Sile being the one sent to unhook, but actually no, Zeno feels safe enough, and we see a For the People play immediately come out to keep Marco healthy for as long as possible. That first swing misses, and Marco's able to get life distance away. The problem is that Spirit is fine against an uninjured survivor, as we can see there, but it's not ideal. Now that Marco is injured, Marco is going to be tracked down to high heaven, right? Credit to Elysium, though. They noted who was getting tunneled out, and barring Marco just having ridiculous chases, they have done basically everything they can to delay it as long as possible, right? You know, they have your hit tank, they have the protection, they have the For the People play coming out. They've done everything that they realistically could have done, right? But when all is said and done, you're in a 3v1 now, and you're gonna struggle.
We're seeing Pedro take this hit, and now Zeno gonna be trying to finish this last generator, but Mancer has other ideas, and he is gonna come over here for this kick, and Call of Brine now will be active, and also Dragon's Grip. So if anyone is going to touch this generator, it cannot be Zeno, because Zeno will be getting exposed. It actually gets hit over the pellet, makes a 50, and just unfortunate. Now 3 survivors injured. Silly just getting off the broken from the For the People onto Marco. But now, I mean, this is where Spirit thrives. 3 injured survivors. We do see that reset onto Pedro, so hopefully we are going to be seeing more resets, but this is brutal.
And they've put Zeno, the injured survivor, on arguably the riskiest generator regardless, which is crazy work, but hey, your opponent can't know what you're doing if you don't know what you're doing, which is pretty good. Now Zeno's going to have to get the hell out of dodge, and You had the overcome, but you've not been able to work that gen long enough for your Deadard to come back. So you're still in for a world of hurt. Pedro utilizes the sprint burst to make some distance away. And yeah, right now Elysium are, despite still having 3 survivors, they're still making Mansa feel like he's in a 4v. Like the survivors are just everywhere at once.
However, we do have information on where all the survivors are at, so we are going to be taking the chase here towards the main building. Actually, Xeno's here. What? They were trying maybe going for a reset or maybe just double the gen out, and Xeno gets caught off. Silhey going to be taking that, I believe, balance landing and just running away. But now, I mean, no survivors are going to be on the generators, and looks like Pedro's trying to come back to this generator that is still regressing. This is starting to get out of hand, and Pedro does do a little bit of a jiggy here and gets a bit of distance and probably going to be able to make it back to this window. No pallet to work with here, but as we go towards this 2 side of the map and continues to hold W, which very, very smart. And now Mancer is forced to head back as the FTP comes out once again on the survivor who is getting tunneled out.
Yeah, and like this could have been a disastrous spot, but again, Elysium are still recovering. You know, they've been in some of the highest pressure situations imaginable, and so this to them is just like a regular Tuesday, right? Like even though they have injured survivors, they have broken survivors, they have so many like concerns to take care of. Even as Mansa just kisses this window goodnight. Like they're still able to continue thriving. Xeno gonna take another hit. I think has the exhaustion back, so can use overcome for some distance. For survivors, realistically, you just want to bully out these final 2 gens. 4K 0 would be an ideal spot to get to, and it's something which I think Obi could definitely beat with a 4K 1.
Yeah, and Pedro going back to that generator, and Xeno gonna try and continue this chase, but they're gonna be doubling it, and I think Mancer is heading back, and so interrupting this is huge. Sprint burst coming in clutch for Pedro just to get that distance, and Mancer, it's just fighting this back and forth here is very, very tough. We do see some scratch marks here, but I'm just gonna be deciding to head back and try and maybe find Pedro out at this tile, and no, he's all the way by main, gonna be completely far away. Still here resetting with the medkit, so you know that is one survivor that is doing their own thing and completely self-reliant, which is key in providing pressure around the map.
What?
Yeah, and especially because, like, how's that for timing, right? You've just been found as the one survivor that can actually take a hit and can actually make distance and buy time for the other survivor. It's going to be Xeno and Pedro resetting each other in the meantime, while the concern of Mansa is, of course, on the generators. Now, Silhey is going to pressure out one of the gens on the bottom side just to make things a little bit more difficult for our killer, right? So far, Mansa's only really had the one generator to be concerned about. Now that you have the space, now that you have the freedom, why not make it 2? And Silhey, again, still just making an absurd amount of distance. And in the meantime, this gen has regressed quite a lot, with credit to Mansa. But the survivors, Xeno and Pedro, are both healthy, both feel very safe to work on it.
Absolute beautiful 99ing each other there. We saw them resetting basically at the same time. The 50 is lost from here on Xeno, and if that was a quick phase here, but you have to be worried about this gen. Pedro already trying to pressure it, and Silhey just grinding out that one in the distance here. If we can get another injury here and potentially try and snowball this to a victory, I mean, a 4K1 would be strong, but the sprint burst just coming out, and actually we go completely on the other side of the map and catch out Silhey.
Ooh, now things are going to get a bit more dangerous. You have a survivor on the floor, one which definitely will need picking up. You need someone to come over and deal with that threat. Xeno was the unbreakable survivor, so it's not going to be a repetition of that. But immediately they've sent Xeno down to rotate. Mansa knows this, So he's going to go right back down to where that slug survivor is. And like you're gonna be able to get her down onto someone here. It was Xeno who was forced to come save here, which is a problem because Xeno is also the survivor who is dead, like now.
Mancer just opting to leave once again. This gen is getting dangerously close. It's also nearing the 8 gen regression event, so we could be seeing that gen unable to be kicked anymore. And it looks like Mancer going to be deciding he needs to commit. And I definitely agree with this. And we see, actually, I think we just saw Silhe in there in front of main. Or that was Xeno. It was Xeno in front of main here. Maybe trying to cross for that generator, and now Mancer will be hot on Xeno's trail. Loses that 50-50, expecting Xeno to maybe play for a mind game, and actually the last hit gets popped. That is huge. Now Mancer has to play for different stages. He is going to be going for Silhe, who is a fresh hook survivor, will be going down. Balance landing not going to be active. And Mancer, this is a risky move. It pay off though?
We're going to have a gate open, right? The problem is Silhe would be so many stages here, right? Is there a way in which you can save Silhe? Honestly, Spirit has no real tools to prevent a two-man save, but does have very much have the tools to get people at the end. Silhe's in the base.
It's basement. Yeah,
Right.
that is
You
just...
might just have to leave the survivors here, and it's tough. But yeah, at this point, you're relying essentially as the total scores on the doors. Then is going to be 8 stages accrued by Mancer, which is 1 below the current average, but still a pretty good performance. You are essentially relying on a 4K here for Elysium. Like, I don't think we'll be in a world where we have, like, 9, 10 stages for Elysium where it isn't just a 4K.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be rough for the survivors. I mean, you talked about 1 below average. I I could see the survivors of Desperate, especially ones that we saw juice earlier, Rainfall, of being one of those, having absolute insane chases against 3 different killers. Could we see it in the Spirit set as well? That is the question. And Obi is a very strong Spirit, so if Obi does indeed come out and play Spirit for Elysium, it's a tough opponent for Desperate Survivors.
Yeah, they're gonna have a hell of a time here. First down is the time which I want people to be looking at in the future, right? Elysium, despite having a kind of average start of being down at the 53-second mark, literally 2 seconds off the average, that time is negligible. They were still able to get out with an above average result, leaving with 8 stages as opposed to 9, like we've seen otherwise. So, in that sense, I want to see if the Desperate Survivors can basically delay the first down for as long as possible, right? We know how crucial that timer is. We know that it is everything. The early game, the first hook, it is the very, very moment of the match at the very beginning where the survivors are at their absolute strongest. The killer needs to neuter that threat immediately, right? So basically, if Obi's down can be delayed by, at least a minute, then things actually look up for the Desperate Survivors, genuinely.
It's all about denying those hits, because once you're injured, it's going to prove very, very difficult to dodge the Spirit, with those grunts of pain. And so if the survivors of Desperate, which we saw in the demo set on Rancid, denying even hits coming out in very quickly, could be looking to a relatively close match, and we could be seeing that 5th set, Egdar, the 5th set that we all are looking forward to, which would be it would just be insane to see a tiebreaker set coming out here for Desperate.
It would be it would be funny, bluntly. Uh like we saw a set 5 happen yesterday. It was really interesting. Um it was really interesting to see that come out. Because yeah, either you get like a useless monkey's paw rule, which is going to not affect the game in any meaningful capacity, or you're going to get like the worst rule of all time. Yesterday, it was a nurse, but the survivor had to bring corrupt, and then no one else could bring any perks along. The killer had nothing except corrupt intervention, and the survivors had to play and the survivors basically had to play um like with nothing against the best killer in the game. It went about as well as you'd expect for them, you know.
Yeah, and looking into that fifth set, just on the off chance we do get to it, it is Plague DDS. Oh my goodness, I know, Egdar, you're excited for it. um, it is a brutal matchup to watch, and especially if they have that Gallows 3 gen. But looking into some of those special rules, if it lands on the no mither, it actually could be a advantage to the survivor side.
I mean, like advantage sort of, but I feel like as I said, there are some rules which will be consequential and some which would be inconsequential, right? No mither isn't No mither isn't like played that much recently. I've seen against Plague, even though it was played a lot on Suffopit. Uh, yeah, even though it was played on Suffopit, in these DDS sets, I've not really seen the Plague come out with. Um, I've not really seen the survivors against Plague, I should say, come out with no mither. However, it will be fine because only one player will need to bring it along, and one when that player has it along, then it's like okay, well, fine. I have a perfectly okay perk against this killer specifically. You know, for some players and some killers, it would be a curse, right? If you have to play against a blight where one person is always injured, like okay, good luck, bro. But against a plague where you're going to be injured most of the match anyway, it's really not so bad.
Yeah, and some of the other ones, we could see another corrupt game, but hopefully we see a different one. But again, that is all hypothetical. That is all just as we're getting these survivors and killer lobbies set up. The spirit set still has to be played. Desperate still have to come out and get a better result than 8 stages. They need to leave with 7 or less hooks on the board, and Obi has to come out and get basically what we would say an expected result of 9 stages for the win, and to take Elysium and move on and take the set 3-1.
Yeah, and a 3-1 would definitely be a surprise here. Everyone would have expected this to be a 3-0 from the outset. It looks as if the players are getting ready. We should be in the game very soon. Thank you for sticking with us through the delays of the day and the aimless yap of Snipes and I. Snipes, who has been yapping for rather a while now, hasn't it been, good sir?
It has been quite a few. Yes, I casted that
Oh, you want
first
to know the best part?
Invictus.
We're not even halfway through the matches today. We have so much action on DBDLeague. It is crazy. So I very much hope that everyone's enjoying the show because, yeah, we're not even halfway through the show yet. We still have two other matches on the flip side of this one. Reassure versus Mercy and Ascent versus Vix. Those should both be some pretty good games upcoming, so make sure to stay tuned in for that. But of course, stay tuned in right now as well. We promise you we're going to be going in like within the next like minute or two.
Yeah, these survivors are in the lobby now, getting ready to up, and very exciting games. And I'm really hoping that Desperate, with this fire lit underneath them, they came out, they took a set from Elysium in that, and taking 2 sets and bringing it to the tiebreaker, that would just, I mean, that's a dream for the survivors of Desperate here.
Because well, as we were saying earlier, what's better than taking 1 set off of Elysium? Taking 2 sets off Elysium. What's better than taking 2 sets off Elysium? I think you see where I'm going with this, right?
Yep,
So
yeah.
yeah, you were not expected to win. The pressure is not on you. I'm not in the Elysium dugout right now, but I don't want to envy the amount of pressure that Obi has. Against a team which you really, again, to be nice, should have dispatched with by now quite easily, and instead you're being dragged into deep waters. Really, uh, we know the Elysium are tested in deep waters, but you know, like not in a situation like this where they are the expected winner. Honestly, Elysium have I say underdogs is not the right word to use, but against teams like Invictus in the finals of Season X, Elysium were the ones who were the underdogs who weren't really expected to win that. Of course, they are your reigning defending champions, so now the target is firmly on their backs.
We are finally in this set. Obi coming out, taking chase towards the tower here. And we see Rainfall going down the very narrow tunnel, and a miss coming out onto this pallet. Rainfall actually going to be opting to leave this pallet, and getting stuck on the stairs could be resulting in a hit, but no, that pallet will be going down here. And now the phase coming out from Obi, trying to maybe get this hit here onto Rainfall, but actually going to be taking it to the upper, and Obi seems to lose Rainfall, and so Rainfall doesn't even have to use the balanced landing yet. And now just going to be completely leaving and trying to go pressure these other gens. We do see that Dragon Skip coming back. It's been a absolute fan favorite, and now taking this Eruption proc. And 2 survivors were working this generator. They were trying to double it out and get it out of the way, and now they are both here at the shack. This is looking very well played. Oh, miss.
Yeah, Survivor's doing a fantastic job right now of basically preempting Obi's every move, but someone went and tapped the gen, didn't they? And now, now you're going to be making a lot of distance for Looney, but it's not quite enough. And right there, we see the inherent value that Dragon's Grip always has. That being said, first down still reasonably slow for a Spirit at 133. 40 seconds slower than what Mansa's killer was able to achieve, but that could have been even more extended had it not been for that Dragon's Grip the first time round. It's just far too risky for the survivors to have to deal with.
Yeah, Dragon's Grip value. We see it happen so often here on the DBDL stage, and now, I mean, this hook, I should say, is very central to a lot of gens with high progress. And we don't see the Call of Brine coming out, but we see the Eruption, which is also another good gen regression perk. And Noob getting caught out here at the main building, and it looks like, yeah, Obi is going to be committing to this. We see the first gen popping, but Looney still, unfortunately, going to be on that hook, and no save is going to be coming in just quite yet from Mancer.
I feel like just some extended pressure, actually. We only use the one phase to get the hit onto Noob, and then use the other phase, basically, to immediately come back to the hook. That's kind of your best case scenario. Like, even though Noob is going to be healed up, that was time off the clock, with 16 seconds, to be specific, where that couldn't be done. Now, Mancer's actually going to try and stop going second stage, and it will be successful. Mancer goes down for it, but that was like a last gasp kind of situation. Now, you're going to need to get 2 more hooks onto Looney as opposed to just the 1. This is tough. These survivors are doing a damn good job.
And I mean, honestly, getting that unhook before the second stage is incredibly crucial because now Looney has another one to work with. Does get the 50-50 and actually 2 misses from Obi. No, wait, Looney gets away with that and unfortunately will be going down here, is unaware of the pallet location, but still few seconds bought just to buy time for the survivors to pop their second generator. And only 2 hook states have come in so far for Obi, and they have a lot more gen pressure around the map. This is just incredible. We do see that pre-drop coming out and a hit coming out onto Rainfall, a very quick unhook coming out onto Looney. This is hectic, this is chaotic, this is typically what you see in these fast-paced, higher tier set killer rounds, and Looney already being healed. This is incredible, Egdar.
Yeah, that's such a fast heal onto Looney, who themselves now pretty safely working on gens. Rainfall has the balanced landing, is going to be making a lot of distance away, but not quite enough, unfortunately. We'll go down. This is really fantastic play from Desperate, Not only are they not letting Looney get toned out, but they're letting Looney thrive, actually. And now you're being forced to split pressure here for Obi, which is far from ideal. Again, you don't necessarily need the 4K, like 10 stages will do you fine as well, but it's looking like more and more likely like you are going to have to play for that 10 stages, which is pretty tough to do. Careful, young man, trying to juice like that in this economy. It would have had a lot of aura behind it, but, not today.
And Noob gonna be getting away, got free with that one, is gonna be able to work this generator here up on that little hill, and now Obi gonna be deciding to leave. Rainfall still is on the hook, so we do, I believe, hear Mancer up at this main building, somewhere lurking around. Unhook does come out, so Rainfall does not hit second stage, which is definitely for the better on Desperate Survivors. And Looney lurking around. You need to be the one that can't be found. This is super unfortunate. Overcome will allow a little bit of distance, and Ada being a quieter survivor, you have a little bit to hope for. But I mean, this is just, it's Spirit. She's gonna catch up to you instantly. That is gonna be the 3v1 already here, and 2 survivors injured. Could lead to a snowball. They're trying to double out this gen, but I believe Obi is going to be aware of their positioning and is going to be trying to phase right over to this gen and stop it.
Rainfall's actually going for a self reset with the inner healing, cleansing a totem there. So yeah, now things are a bit strange. We have 1 hook stage onto Rainfall, who is injured, but actively trying to reset. Rainfall was able to reset successfully here in a locker. Things are actually going to be really, really tough for Obi. You don't have a 3-gen. Your gens are pretty split up. Mansa doesn't seem to be looking like they want to get reset necessarily. So for Obi, you're actually no, that's not reset. This is really, really tough now. Basically, you need a down. You need it now, and you need Eruption to go off on all of these generators at the exact same time, and then to, like, 2-tap someone. So a lot of things need to go right for Obi here. Hear me out. This is looking very drawable.
Yeah, we could even be seeing that tiebreaker set, the 2v1 commencing, which would be icing on the cake here. Mancer doing a good job at stealthing here. Will that crow alert Obi? No, it will not. And so Mancer doing a very good job at just kind of walking around this tile, denying info from Obi. Noob is going to be back on that generator over on the hill, and I mean, Obi's on the other side of the map. He has to phase to get back there, and I mean, comms are looking good. We talked about it earlier, their blunders on their comms potentially of not knowing where pallets are at and where the killer is at, but here we see it absolutely beautiful, and Noob crouching around trying to deny it. Does have the sprint burst in the back pocket just in case they do get caught out, but now we're going to be heading back and working this generator while Obi has not seen a survivor for a good, I would say, minute or so now.
It's definitely been a while, and just incrementally the survivors are doing whatever they can to get progress just kind of underneath Obi's nose, and it definitely seems to be working out for them. Like we can hear how progressed this gen over on the bottom side is, and like I think that Obi is genuinely getting really confused and maybe a little psyched out as well. Noob's in a safe spot here with the sprint burst, even if like they do get found. So in the meantime, Manta and Rainfall are just splitting on 2 different generators.
And it's just playing this very exceptionally here, and we see Rainfall here with the balance landing on the main building, and if they don't get to use that balance landing, they also have that dead hard in the back pocket. Obi looking around, desperate to try and find these survivors. They're just not doing anything. I do believe we see Mancer now being spotted out at the back of main. We have that Light with Quick and Quiet Dance With Me, and maybe able to trick Obi a little bit, but no, Obi is aware enough to realize where Mancer is at. So now we'll be taking chase here. Finally, after so long, the chase will commence. A hit coming out as well. We still have this tile to play with, but I think Mancer will just be trying to get as much distance as possible, making it towards the shack. And do we still have pallet here? I don't believe we have pallet anymore. Actually going to be opting for a basement hole and blinding himself in the distance. If I can't see you, you can't see me either. Unfortunately, that doesn't work in his case, and we'll be going down, and this is a potential basement, or maybe, you know, Obi dragging this closer to one of these gens.
No, you can't paint res, but
no,
yeah,
no
actually you're going to drag over very close to the noob to this generator here. And on the one hand, this generator's done. Okay, fantastic. The problem is that we've now found another target, and, you know, it only takes 1 hook stage to go awry. The sprint burst is gone now, so there's no exhaustion that noob will be able to utilize in chase. And again, Obi's just on it, right? You know, that fall from noob would have fooled like 99% of players walking to the pallet and then just getting away from it. Now it's just a total 50-50, and of course Obi's going to win it. These late game chases are proving to be fantastic for Obi, and by extension Elysium at this rate. Now the stages are accruing. The gen progress is about 50% on Rainfall's generator. Obi should probably go have a little check on it.
Yeah, we hear a lot of progress here. It's about 50%. This is where we saw Rainfall earlier, juicing up Obi, but this time we'll be taking the hit over the pallet and actually getting caught out at this dead zone.
Zoned.
Doesn't have really much to work with here, and zoned at the snow pile. We do have an edge map filler, but I don't think we're gonna be able to get it. That short swing from Obi, well played to get the hit through the pallet. That is another stage, and these stages are just getting up there and up there as we near that win con. One more stage, Egdar. One more is all it's going to take for the Elysium to win this after such a hard-fought match from Desperate.
Yeah, it would be by virtue of the fresh hooks. Essentially, there is no way that this can be a draw anymore, right? You know, like Elysium have already secured their 4 fresh hooks. It is just if one more stage comes out, then it is over for these survivors. And the survivors, they had such a good showing. Honestly, this was their mid game and their early game was kind of like fantastic. There were just some minor mistakes that came out, and eventually they caught up. We have someone here waiting in the wings, but it's not going to be enough. Mancer did so much on the killer side, but Obi eventually is a V-Spirit player. We know him for it. They are absolutely renowned on it, and we do secure the win for Elysium. 3-1 fashion, but I don't think that scoreline quite does it justice.
It absolutely does not, and we have the dead hard, but Rain, thinking they can make it to that, will be saying goodbye. I mean, at the end of the day, this team, Desperate, should be patting themselves on the back, going up against a super team like Elysium and pulling out one stage in almost a second. They should be proud of what they accomplished today, and definitely I'm looking forward to seeing how this team is going to do in the lower bracket and seeing how they do against other teams of similar calibers.
Yeah, like if this is what they're able to do in this upper bracket against a team like Elysium, then I shudder to think how some of the kind of weaker teams or other teams in this series might end up performing against them, right? That being said, for now, it's about getting what you can. Of course, you're still playing as if still playing as if it's serious. If you're able to get, slick dodges, and get some clips that you can put on your Twitch profile while you're at it, I suppose, against some of the best kill players in the world. Mansa is actually going to be popping the final
No, the
generation.
eruption.
Mansa should be popping the final gen in the process. Can we hit some great skill checks, buddy? Okay, yeah, should be able to get it. Actually, no. You can't even finish the final gen. You're exposed, but the exposed is going to be just about wearing out here. And then you express mild displeasure with you express mild displeasure with Obi by dropping a pallet on his head, which isn't the nicest thing in the world to do.
And well, the lithe, quick, and quiet dance with me combo gonna be confusing Obi for a slight second, but now trying to play that 50-50, and actually Manser's just gonna be getting caught out here, and another swing and a miss here from Obi, possibly just having a little bit of fun. Manser attempting the 360, which we know is not gonna work against a killer of Obi's capacity. But GG's to the survivors of Desperate. They played that beautifully. That Dragon's Grip value, unfortunately, at the beginning of the game, I think is what we can come back and look at and be like, that is the turning point there. And going down in that generator split with the two gens having a lot of high progress. But still, I mean, applause to them.
Yeah, absolutely. But the Kings do stay on top. Their crown is held on to, and it was how we wrote it up. The middle section of our plot just kind of got a bit confused, right? Big congratulations to Elysium for their win. But again, don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We are only halfway through what we have for today. Snipes, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us on the desk for the last two matches.